The alien queen's chamber stank of copper and burnt ozone. Cale pressed himself against the corridor wall, heart hammering against his ribs as he watched royal guards drag something wrapped in bloodstained cloth through the crystalline archway. He shouldn't be here. Scavengers belonged in the lower districts, picking through debris fields and salvage yards, not lurking in the palace spire where the Zarkati monarchy held court. But the distress beacon he'd intercepted 3 hours ago had led him here, pulsing from somewhere deep within these forbidden halls. The signal was human. Impossible, given that humanity's war with the Zarkati had ended 2 decades ago with Earth's surrender and the dispersal of survivors across the outer colonies. The guards disappeared into the Queen's private audience chamber. Cale counted to 30, then slipped through the archway, his worn boots silent on the polished obsidian floor. The vast room beyond stretched upward into darkness, its walls lined with bioluminescent veins that pulsed with sickly green light. At its center, Queen Vexnera sat upon a throne carved from a single massive vertebra, some creature Cale couldn't identify and didn't want to. The cloth bundle lay at her feet. "Come out, Scavenger," the Queen said without turning her elongated head. "Your heartbeat echoes like thunder." Cale froze, hand instinctively moving to the plasma cutter at his belt. Useless against a Zarkati monarch, but the weight was comforting. "I said come." Not a request. Her voice carried harmonics that made his teeth ache. He stepped into the light. The Queen regarded him with 4 amber eyes set in a face that resembled a praying mantis sculpted by a mad artist. Her chitinous skin reflected the chamber's glow, creating shifting patterns that hurt to look at directly. "You followed the beacon," she stated. "Good. You will bear witness." "Witness to what?" "Unwrap it." Every instinct screamed at him to run. Instead, Cale approached the cloth, knelt and pulled back the fabric with trembling hands. The scream caught in his throat. A girl stared up at him with empty sockets where eyes should have been. Her skin was pale blue-gray, the color of death, but her chest rose and fell with shallow breaths. She was young, maybe 14 standard years, and human. Completely undeniably human. But her arms ended at the shoulders in clean surgical cuts, the stumps sealed with the same bioluminescent material that lined the chamber walls. Her legs were similarly removed at the hips. "What did you do?" Cale's voice came out strangled. "I preserved her," the Queen said, "as my daughter commanded before she died." "Your daughter?" Cale looked between the limbless girl and the alien monarch. "This child is human. She is Princess Nimsara, my heir, my only offspring." The Queen's mandibles clicked together in what might have been grief. "And she is dying because of what your kind did to her." The girl's eyes, the ones that weren't there, seemed to stare through him. Her lips moved, forming words without sound. Cale leaned closer and heard the faintest whisper. "Help me. My people were dying from the plague your biological weapons unleashed during the war. This scientist offered a cure, a genetic merger that would create a hybrid immune to both human and Zarkathi diseases. The cost was my genetic material and his own." She paused. "The result was Nimsara. You let a human experiment on you? He was trying to save both our species. And for 17 years, it worked. Nimsara grew strong, healthy, capable of producing the antibodies we needed to cure the plague, but 3 months ago, her human cells began attacking her Zarkathi ones. The rejection was catastrophic. We removed her limbs to slow the spread, hoping to give our physicians time to find a solution." The girl's whisper came again, stronger now.
"Lies."
Cale met the Queen's gaze. "What did you say, child?" "Not her daughter. Her weapon. They made me in a lab. Used me to create a virus that would wipe out the human colonies. When I found out, I destroyed the samples. That's when she punished me. Cut me apart. Left me like this to die slowly, as a warning to anyone else who might betray her." Queen's chitinous armor plates flared. A threat display. The child is delirious. The rejection has affected her mind. But Cale saw the truth in the way the Queen's secondary arms tensed, the slight shift in her posture. He'd spent years reading alien body language to survive in the scrapyards. This was defensive anger, not grief. "The beacon," he said slowly. "You didn't disable it. You wanted someone to find her." "I wanted a human to see what mercy looks like," the Queen said. "Before I execute her for treason, I offer one gift. The chance to say goodbye to her own kind." The princess's lips formed 3 silent words. Cale read them clearly. "Kill me."
"Please."
At the dying girl, at the alien queen watching him with unreadable eyes. Outside, the palace guards would be returning. He had seconds to make a choice that would mean his death either way. "Tell me the truth," Kale said, his hand closing around the cutter. "What is she really?" The queen's mandibles spread wide, revealing rows of crystalline teeth. "She is the end of humanity's hope, and I am giving you the honor of witnessing her final moments." Kale activated the plasma cutter. Its blue glow illuminated the princess's face, and for just a moment he saw, not a victim, but something else entirely. A flicker of intelligence far older than any 14-year-old should possess. "Wrong choice, Scavenger," the queen said, and the chamber doors sealed shut with a sound like breaking bones. The princess began to laugh, a sound that held no humanity at all. Kale swung the plasma cutter toward the queen, but she moved faster than anything her size should, closing the distance between them in a single fluid motion. Her primary arm caught his wrist, squeezing until he felt bones grind together. The cutter clattered to the floor. "Predictable," she hissed, lifting him off his feet. "Your species always chooses violence. Let him go, mother." The princess's voice had changed, losing its whispered weakness. It rang out clear and commanding, carrying harmonics that matched the queen's own speech patterns. Queen Vexnera's grip loosened. She set Kale down but didn't release him. "You should not speak. The effort damages you further." "Well, we both know that's not true." The Princess Nimsara turned her head toward them, and Kale saw the empty sockets beginning to fill with something that glowed from within. The human has a right to understand before he makes his final choice. He will die here. The question is only how much pain he endures first. Nimsara's lipless wound of a mouth stretched into something approximating a smile. "Show him the memory crystal. Let him see what he's really stepped into." The queen released Kale, shoving him backward. He stumbled, catching himself against the throne. The massive bone felt warm under his palms, almost alive. From within a hidden compartment in the throne's base, Queen Vexnara withdrew a dodecahedral crystal that pulsed with internal light. "Touch it," she commanded, "and you will see the truth of my daughter's creation. Then you will understand why she must remain alive, no matter the cost." Zarkathi memory crystals were legendary. They didn't just show information, they forced the viewer to experience memories as if they were their own. The process was said to be agonizing for human nervous systems. "Do it," Nimsara urged. "You came for the truth." "Here it is." He pressed his palm against the crystal surface. Reality shattered. Kale stood in a laboratory that existed 20 years in the past, seeing through eyes that weren't his own. His hands, no, the memory subject's hands, manipulated equipment he recognized from pre-war human medical facilities. Around him, Zarkati physicians moved with careful precision, their mandibles clicking in their version of concerned discussion. "The integration is failing," one of them said. "A human genetic material is too aggressive. It will consume the Zarkathi sequences entirely. Then we increase the Zarkathi ratio," the memory subject replied, and Kale heard his own voice. No, not his voice, but human nonetheless. Male, middle-aged, educated. "The child must be viable. Both species depend on it." Months passed in seconds. A gestation chamber held something small and writhing, neither fully human nor Zarkathi. The memory subject watched it grow with an expression Kale could feel from inside. Not love, but desperate hope mixed with scientific fascination. Another shift. The subject stood before Queen Vexnera herself, younger but already bearing the weight of monarchy. "She is stable," the scientist reported. "The hybrid is producing antibodies effective against both the plague and the bioweapons humanity deployed. But there's a complication." "Explain." The Queen's voice held the same controlled authority Kale had just heard in the present. Her cognitive development is accelerating beyond projected parameters. At 6 months, she has the neural complexity of a 3-year-old human child. By my calculations, she'll reach adult intelligence by age 5. The scientist paused. "There's something else. She's developing abilities neither species possesses. Biological transmutation. Cellular manipulation. She restructured her own digestive system last week to process nutrients more efficiently, without prompting, without instruction." The Queen's plates flared. "You created something beyond our control. I created something that can save us both. But she'll need guidance, training. She can't grow up as merely a source of antibodies. She must be raised as your heir, given purpose beyond her biological function. And if she becomes a threat, then we'll have bigger problems than plague or war." The memory crystal released KL, and he collapsed to the floor, gasping. His neural pathways burned as if acid had been poured directly into his brain. Through watering eyes, he looked up at the princess, at Nimsara, and understood. "You're not dying from rejection," he managed. "You removed your own limbs." "Very good, Scavenger." Nimsara's voice carried approval. "I needed to appear vulnerable, broken. A failed experiment that my mother could display as proof that human-Zarkadi cooperation leads only to disaster. It made her careless. Queen Vexnara's entire body went rigid. Nimsara, what have you done?" "What you taught me to do, Mother." "I adapted to survive." The bioluminescent material sealing her stumps began to pulse faster, brighter. "For 17 years, I produced antibodies. I cured the plague. I gave both our species a future. And then I discovered what you really wanted from me. Position, purpose, love. There's a difference." The light from Nimsara's stumps spread across her torso, creeping up her neck. "I found the secondary laboratory, the one where your physicians were using my genetic material to create something else. Not antibodies. A weapon. A biological agent that would target human DNA exclusively while leaving Zarkathi untouched. You were going to finish what the war started. The distress beacon, you sent it. I needed a witness, someone who would survive to tell the truth when this is over." Nimsara's empty eye sockets blazed with the same bioluminescent light now. "But I also needed you to make a choice, Scavenger. My mother was right about one thing. I am dangerous. What I can do, what I've become, it threatens the balance of power in this sector. So I offer you the same choice I gave myself. Preserve the weapon that could end your species, or destroy it." "You can't destroy yourself," Kale said. "You're transmuting your cells, not removing them." "Those limbs are growing back." "Clever." Nimsara's laugh held genuine warmth this time. "Yes. In approximately 3 minutes I'll be whole again, mobile, powerful, and very, very angry at the mother who tried to use me as an instrument of genocide." She paused. "Unless you stop me first. The plasma cutter, properly applied to my brainstem, would end my regeneration permanently. Kill me now, and the biological weapon dies with me. Both species survive, diminished but alive." Queen Vexnara lunged for the fallen plasma cutter, but Kale was closer. He scooped it up, the grip still warm from his earlier grasp, and aimed it not at the princess but at the queen. "Stay back, foolish human. You think you can threaten me in my own palace? I think I can buy enough time for your daughter to finish healing. Then we'll see who's threatening whom." The queen's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation. "You don't understand what you're protecting." She claims moral superiority, but she's planning to slaughter my court, my guards, everyone who knew about the weapon project. She'll bathe this palace in blood. "Is that true?" Kale asked, not taking his eyes off the queen. "Partially," Nimsara admitted. "I will execute those directly responsible for the weapon program, approximately 47 individuals. The rest of the court will be spared, though some will face trial." "Trial by whose authority?" the queen demanded. "You are my creation, my property under Zarkadi law. I am a person under the Interspecies Rights Charter that both our governments signed after the war. Article 7, Section 3. All sentient beings possess inherent rights regardless of origin. You taught me to read treaties, Mother. I learned them well." Kyle's arm was starting to shake from holding the plasma cutter steady. There has to be another way. Some solution that doesn't involve executions or... The princess's right arm burst from her shoulder socket in a spray of bioluminescent fluid, fully formed and functional. She flexed her fingers experimentally. "The time for peaceful solutions ended when my mother chose genocide over cooperation. Now there's only justice." "Your justice looks a lot like revenge," Kale said. "But I'm the only one here who can administer it fairly. I have no loyalty to either species. I am something else entirely. The bridge my creators intended. Corrupted by my mother's ambition, but still capable of choosing a better path. Her left arm emerged, faster this time. The question, Scavenger, is whether you'll help me or hinder me." Queen Vexnara's armor plates flattened against her body, a sign of submission, though her voice remained defiant. "If you kill me, the royal guard will execute you. You cannot survive against 200 trained warriors." "I don't need to survive. I need to transmit the evidence of your crimes to every colony, every station, every government in this sector before they stop me. 1 minute of network access is all I require. My death afterward is acceptable if it prevents another genocide." Kale lowered the plasma cutter. His hand ached from gripping it so tightly. What do you need from me? Her legs were regenerating now, muscle and bone knitting together beneath translucent skin. I can execute my mother and scatter her court, establishing myself as the new monarch and ruling with whatever wisdom a 17-year-old hybrid possesses. Or, Kale prompted, or you can help me expose her crimes to the Interspecies Council and let proper authorities handle the justice. It will be slower, messier. Many guilty parties will escape punishment. But it will be legitimate, governed by law rather than the whim of an angry child weapon who might be exactly as dangerous as her mother claims. The full weight of the choice settled onto Kale's shoulders. He was a scavenger, a nobody who picked through debris for survival. What did he know about justice or politics or the fate of species? But he knew about survival, about the choices that kept you alive versus the ones that kept you human. The council, he said finally. We go to the council. Naive fool. You think they'll believe a scavenger in a laboratory experiment over a monarch with 20 years of diplomatic relationships? Nimsara smiled, and for the first time, it reached her newly formed eyes. Human eyes, warm brown and achingly familiar. They will when they see the memory crystals. All of them. The ones documenting every phase of the weapon program. The ones I've been copying and hiding throughout the palace for the past 6 months.
The Queen's defiance crumbled. Nimsara?
Daughter, please.
I am not your daughter.
I am your conscience finally given form and voice. Nimsara stood, fully healed, towering over Kale despite her youth. And I will not let you commit atrocity in the name of security ever again. Alarms began to sound throughout the palace. The royal guard had detected the disruption. They had minutes at most before the chamber was breached. Kale grabbed Nimsara's arm, her new arm still warm from regeneration. We need to move. Now. Is there another way out? She nodded toward a section of wall that looked identical to all the others. Service passage. It leads to the communications tower. If we can reach it before the guard cuts us off, you'll be killed, the Queen interrupted. Both of you. I can still prevent this. Order my guards to stand down. Give you safe passage to neutral territory. All you have to do is destroy the memory crystals and forget what you've learned here. Why would you make that offer? Kale asked. The Queen's four eyes fixed on Nimsara with an expression that might have been love or might have been possession. Sometimes the two were hard to distinguish. Because despite everything, she is still my child. And I would rather see her alive and free than dead and vindicated. If I accept your offer, what happens to the weapon program? Today? And the scientists involved? Scattered across the Empire where they can do no harm. Not good enough, Nimsara said quietly. They'll regroup. Start again somewhere beyond your oversight. The knowledge exists now. It can't be contained through promises in exile. The sound of armored boots echoed in the corridor outside. Getting closer. The Queen raised one chitinous hand and the footsteps stopped. A command given through pheromone signals Kale couldn't detect? Then what would be good enough? The Queen asked. Nimsara looked at Kale. You decide. The human who stumbled into this mess and could have walked away at any point. What punishment fits genocide attempted but not completed? Kale understood that much. But of what? His judgment? His capacity for mercy? His willingness to take responsibility? He thought of Earth, burned and broken by biological weapons. Of the colonies where survivors struggled to rebuild. Of all the lives already lost and all the ones that would be lost if the cycle of revenge continued unchecked. Public confession, he said. The Queen admits everything before the Interspecies Council. The scientists stand trial. The weapon program's research is published openly so every species knows what to watch for. And Nimsara lives free, not as anyone's heir or weapon, but as herself. Silence filled the chamber. Then Queen Vexenara's mandibles spread in what might have been a rueful smile. You ask me to destroy my throne, my legacy, my people's security. Everything I've built for 2 decades. I ask you to do what's right, Kale countered, for the first time since the war ended. The Queen looked at her daughter. Her creation. Her failure. And you, Nimsara? Is this justice enough for you? It's a start, the princess said.
But I have one additional condition. The scavenger lives.
Full immunity. He walks away from this with enough credits to retire comfortably, and no one from either of our species ever troubles him again. Why do you care about him? The Queen asked. Nimsara's smile was gentle. Because he's the first person who treated me like a person, not a princess. Not a weapon, not a hybrid experiment, just someone who needed help. That's worth preserving. Cale felt his throat tighten. He'd spent 20 years invisible. Another piece of human debris scattered by war's aftermath. Being seen, truly seen, felt like a gift he didn't know how to accept. Fine, Queen Vexnara said, her voice heavy with defeat. I agree to your terms. All of them. But know this, daughter. The Council will demand your death regardless. You're too dangerous to exist freely. Your abilities alone make you a weapon of mass destruction. They'll cage you or kill you, and I won't be able to prevent it. Then I'll face that future with my eyes open and my hands clean, Nimsara replied. Better that than live as you have, powerful but corrupt, secure but monstrous. The queen flinched as if struck. You judge me harshly for trying to protect my people. There's a difference. Before anyone could respond, the wall Nimsara had indicated earlier split open, revealing a narrow passage lined with pulsing veins of light. The princess gestured for Cale to follow. Come. We have evidence to broadcast and a future to claim. As they moved toward the passage, Queen Vexnara called out, Nimsara. One last thing. The princess paused. I am proud of you, despite everything. You became something greater than I intended, and that is both my failure and my finest achievement. Nimsara's expression flickered, pain, longing, anger, grief, all cycling through in the space of a heartbeat. Goodbye, Mother. I hope your redemption is less costly than mine. The passage twisted through the palace's superstructure, a maze of service corridors and maintenance shafts that Nimsara navigated with perfect confidence. Behind them, Cale heard the queen's voice raised in commands, organizing her guards, preparing her confession. Whether she would actually honor her agreement remained to be seen. But for now, they had a narrow window of opportunity. How do you know where you're going? Cale gasped, struggling to keep pace. I've been planning this route for 6 months. Every possible escape path from every room in the palace. I knew it would come to this eventually. She vaulted over a conduit bundle without breaking stride. The communications tower has independent power and network access. Once we're there, I can broadcast the memory crystals to every government database in the sector simultaneously. Even if the Zarkathi try to suppress it, the information will be out. And then what? You heard your mother. The council won't let you live free. I know. Nimsara's voice was calm, accepting. But that's tomorrow's problem. Today we prevent a genocide. The rest works itself out or it doesn't. They burst into the communications tower, a vast cylindrical chamber filled with processing nodes and transmission arrays. Nimsara moved immediately to the central console, her fingers dancing across controls designed for Zarkati physiology but adapting effortlessly to her hybrid hands. This will take 3 minutes, she said. Guard the door. Cale positioned himself at the entrance, plasma cutter raised. Through the transparent walls of the tower he could see the palace grounds below, gardens of crystalline sculptures, landing platforms for diplomatic vessels, and hundreds of armored guards converging on their location. They're coming, he warned. Let them come. I just need... Nimsara's words cut off as the console chimed. There. Broadcasting now. Every memory crystal, every piece of evidence, uploading to 47 different government servers simultaneously. They can't stop all of them. The guards were using breaching charges on the lower levels, working their way up. Cale could hear the structure groaning under the assault. How long until the upload completes? He shouted over the noise. 90 seconds. The floor beneath them cracked and Cale saw armed guards pouring through the breach. He fired the plasma cutter in wide arcs, not trying to hit them, but creating barriers of superheated air that would slow their advance. 60 seconds! A guard made it through the barrage, mandibles spread wide in a battle cry. Cale swung the plasma cutter like a club, catching the alien across the thorax and sending it tumbling backward into its companions. 30 seconds! The console exploded in a shower of sparks. A guard had gotten a clear shot, destroying the transmission array. Nimsara's hands moved in a blur, rerouting power, activating backup systems, refusing to abandon the upload even as the tower collapsed around them. Did it finish? Cale demanded. Almost. Just a few more. The floor gave way entirely. They fell together, Cale instinctively reaching for Nimsara as gravity claimed them both. The princess wrapped her arms around him, and in the moment before they hit the ground, her body began to change. Skin hardening, bones restructuring, turning herself into a living cushion to absorb the impact. They crashed into a garden bed 3 levels down. Nimsara took the brunt of the landing, her transformed body cracking but holding. Above them, guards rappelled down, weapons trained on their location. "Upload complete," Nimsara whispered, her voice strained. "It's done." Everyone knows now. Sunjab appeared at the edge of the broken tower, looking down at them. For a long moment, she simply watched. Then she raised one arm, and the guards lowered their weapons. "Stand down," the queen commanded. "The time for violence has passed." Kale helped Nimsara to her feet. The princess's body was already reverting to its normal form, healing the damage from their fall. Together they stood before the assembled guards and their queen, waiting for judgment. "The transmission was received by the Interspecies Council," Queen Vexnara announced, her voice carrying across the ruined garden. "They are convening an emergency session. I have been ordered to surrender myself for trial, along with all personnel involved in the weapon program." "And Nimsara?" The queen's expression was unreadable. "The council wishes to study her. Determine the extent of her abilities and potential threat level. They offer her a choice: voluntary containment under council supervision or forced detention as an unlawful biological weapon. Some choice. There's a third option," the queen said quietly. "One I can offer as my final act before surrendering my crown. I can grant you letters of safe passage to the frontier territories, regions beyond council jurisdiction. You would be exiled but free."
"Both?" Kale repeated.
"You are complicit in her escape now, Scavenger. The council will want to question you, and their questions are rarely gentle. Better to disappear while you still can." The princess who wasn't a princess. The weapon who refused to be fired. The bridge between species who had chosen to burn rather than connect two shores intent on destroying each other. "What do you want to do?" he asked her. She met his eyes, and he saw ancient weariness in a face too young to carry such weight. "I want to be free, just for a little while, before they catch us or kill us or lock us away. I want to see stars that don't belong to anyone and planets where nobody knows what I am. Is that selfish?" "It's human," Kale said gently. "Very, very human." Queen Vexnara descended from the tower's remains, moving with the careful dignity of a monarch about to lose everything. She pressed a data chip into Nimsar's palm. "Safe passage codes, enough credits for a small ship and supplies, and coordinates for a colony where questions are rare and second chances are common." She paused. "I'm sorry, daughter, for what I made you, for what I tried to make you do, for not seeing you clearly until it was too late." Nimsara's fingers closed around the chip. "I know, Mother. And someday that might even matter." They left the palace together as the sun set over the Zarkathi homeworld. A scavenger and a princess who was something more than both. Behind them, Queen Vexnara began the long walk toward her confession, her guards falling into formation around her not as protectors but as escorts to her own trial. Kale and Nimsara reached the spaceport as darkness fell. With the Queen's codes, they secured a small courier ship, nothing impressive but fast and reliable. As they prepared for launch, Nimsara stood at the viewport looking back at the palace spire where her entire strange life had unfolded. "Do you think we did the right thing?" she asked. Kale considered. "I think we did the only thing we could and still live with ourselves after. That's close enough to right for me." She smiled. Genuine warmth that transformed her features from alien to almost familiar. "Thank you for making the hard choice, for seeing me as worth saving." "You saved yourself," Kale corrected. "I just held the door open." The ship lifted off, leaving atmosphere and gravity behind. Ahead of them stretched unclaimed space, wild territories where anything could happen and probably would. Behind them, two species began the messy work of confronting their worst impulses and trying to build something better from the ashes of revealed atrocities. "Where should we go?" Nimsara asked, her fingers hovering over the navigation console. Kale thought of all the debris fields he'd picked through, all the broken things he'd salvaged and sold. For the first time in 20 years, he wanted to find something whole instead. "Somewhere new," he said. "Somewhere nobody's fighting yet. Somewhere we can just be." Nimsara plotted a course toward the outer rim, where stars burned cold and distant. "Then that's where we'll go." Two ordinary travelers. Nothing special. "Nothing special," Kale agreed, knowing it was a lie they both chose to believe. The ship jumped to hyperspace, carrying them away from consequences toward whatever uncertain future waited in the dark between stars. Behind them, the Interspecies Council debated the fate of monarchs and the nature of justice. Ahead, the universe spun on, indifferent to their small story of survival, but they had survived. Both of them. And for an ordinary scavenger and a dismembered princess who refused to stay broken, that was extraordinary enough.